Alright, so we're going to finally work in our controller function to upload the image. So here in the account we have that image upload feature. Let me quickly recap that. So in the client, go to screens account. We have this icon. When they click on that, we upload image. So we have this icon here, font awesome icon. When they click, we execute this handle upload function, which is here. It picks the image from the library and send that to our backend. All right. Then we are console logging at the moment. We should receive the URL here. Actually, not just the URL. Once the image uploads, we will save that in the user's database, and then that updated user information, that's what we will expect to get here as data. And this data we will save in the context and async storage so that we have the user's updated information, including the image. Right, so that's what we're going to do here later. But first, obviously, we have to work on this endpoint in our backend. So that one is here. This is our controller function. This is the route, upload image, and this is the controller function, upload image. So here we have to first use cloudinary. All right, so we can install that from npm. So let's go to our server, stop this for now, and install npm install cloudinary. Okay, npm start, run the server, come back here, make sure you have the cloudinary API keys, name and secret in your env file, and then we can continue working on this controller. So all the way down, upload image. So let me comment that out. So we have access to the request user, the currently logged in user ID, which we get as request user thanks to that require sign in middleware. Now first we have to configure cloudinary, and that is something we can do on top. So let's go all the way to the top and let's do here just like we did with SendGrid. Now let's do it for cloudinary. Okay, so first we import const cloudinary equals to require cloudinary, and then cloudinary will give us this config function, and here we need to pass the configuration, the API name, API key, and secret. So cloud name we have to give. Next one is API key, and then API secret. Okay, so these values we have in the env file, so we can access that using process.env dot cloudinary name. Alright, so make sure you don't make any typos here so that we get these values from env file. And for the API key, process.env dot cloudinary key, and then for this one, process.env dot cloudinary secret. Perfect. So we have configured cloudinary. Now we can start using this one. Okay, so let's come all the way down, and here we use try catch any error. So if we get any error, we console log the error, and we try to upload here. Now to upload, we can use the cloudinary again, and that uploaded result we can put in a variable. Let's put in a variable result equals to cloudinary dot uploader. So we get this function to upload, and this function takes two arguments. First argument is the actual image, the image data that we need, and that is something we are receiving in the request body. So let me just double check here in the client screens account. As you can see in Axios post, this is the endpoint, and we are sending this image which contains the base 64 data, image data, that is we are sending in the request body. So we should be able to access this image. Now anytime, whenever you're working with backend and frontend, not just here, on any other request, always it's a good idea to console log request body, just so that you can be sure that the request has been sent from the client and received in the server. Okay, so whatever data you're sending or any other request, make sure there is a connection between the client and server. So always you can do some console logs to make yourself comfortable. Right, now we just continue here, but if we have some issues, obviously I will console log. Alright, so upload, we want to upload the image which will be receiving in request.body.image. so that's the name we used, image. Alright, so that's how we access the base 64 image data. That's the first argument. Second argument to this upload function is the ID that you want to give, the unique ID to your image, so that later you can remove this image from the cloudinary based on the ID as well. Now to generate the ID, we could use some random strings, right? So we could even use the image name, but that might not be unique all the time. Obviously we could use time and date format, but I think it's better to use some kind of a unique ID generator. So let's try one called nano ID, npm. So let's search for that. Okay, so nano ID is you can see it's quite a popular package, and we can generate the unique IDs like this using just by simply executing the function like this one. All right, so this is a very useful package. Let's use this one, and back the server up again, and with this how we can use it. We can import and just simply execute to get the unique ID. So that's what we're going to do here. So let's go on top and import const nano ID equals to require nano ID. Then down here, so the second argument we need to give the ID, that's called public ID, and public ID we use nano ID for that. We just simply generate the unique ID, and resource type you can give the type JPEG or PNG. So in our case we just use JPEG. Okay, so that's all we need to upload the image to cloudinary. Alright, so as long as you have the correct key and secret, that's all you need. Now we can console log before we try to save in the database. Console log cloudinary results. So let's have a look at the result, and then we will try to update this user with the image. Okay, so let me sign up to cloudinary as well. Okay, so I'm still logged in, so you can see. Okay, so we have some issues here. Const nano ID has already been declared. So let me go on top. Okay, so we already used it, sorry about that. It looks like that was covered previously. Let me just search. Okay, so we used nano ID when we were working on the forgot password. Oh, that's good. Sorry about that. Okay, so we already had that. That's good. Okay, that looks good. This one, I just want to show you my previous images, so when we upload a new one you can identify. Okay, so this person is here. All right, so anything new we get, that should appear on top. All right, so let me try. Let's try uploading these flowers as a profile image. All right, now that must have made a request here and it must have uploaded. Let's have a look. How good is that? Now you can see here. Okay, we missed one thing, and that is we forgot to use await. That's why the request is showing pending. Promise, we got the promise. So let's make sure we use await. Okay, and let me try again. All right, and here, that is awesome. Now you can see we got the successfully uploaded result. That's great. So we have the public ID, we got, what else we have here? So we have the URL and we have the secure URL. So this is the one we're going to use because this one has the HTTPS, so we can use it to display the image. So this URL is all we need. Okay, now using that URL you can access the image. You can see here, beautiful. All right, so that's great. Let's give a refresh, see how that worked. And you can see we have two images because the first one was also successful. The only reason we didn't get the result is because we forgot to use await. Okay, so you can edit, delete as well from here. Awesome, so that's great. Now next thing we can do is find this user from the database based on this ID that we have and save this image as a profile image for that user. Okay, so for that, make sure you have the image in your user model. User model should have the image with the public ID and URL fields. All right, so once you have that, you can save this image for that user. So let's quickly do that as well. So const user equals to await user model, use find by ID and update function. Now this function takes a couple of arguments. The first one is the ID, based on which ID you want to find the user, and in our case that is request user dot underscore ID. So that's the first argument. That's the first argument. Second argument is what do you want to update? So in our case we want to update the image, right? So image, and that should have the object with the value of URL and public ID. Now that one, we get that in the result. Now that is something you can pick the URL, secure URL. Okay, let's do that. What I wanted to show you is that if we had named it secure URL, then in that case we could just save the image like results like this, and then only these two fields would be saved, everything else would be ignored because they're not part of our model. But let's do it manually. It's alright. Public ID equals to results dot public underscore ID. All right, and then URL is going to be result dot secure URL. Okay, so let me double check public ID and secure URL. Secure URL and public ID. Perfect. Okay, so that's what we need to save. That's what we're going to update. So find the user based on the ID, update the image with this value. That's the second argument. And then third argument is this updated information we want to send to our client, right? So what you can do is you can pass after this one. So after this one here, the third argument is new true. So if you use new true, this updated information we will get immediately here so that we can send to our client, right? So send response so we can return response JSON. Now we can't send all the we should be sending the whole user information, because user will have the what do you call it, the the password as well, right? That's not something you want, and you don't want to. You want to just give the name, email, role, image. Okay, so let's do that. Name, user.name, email, user.email, sorry, a role, user.role, and then image, user.image. So image is quite important because all this information is already there except the image. Now once the image upload is done, we're sending all this information so that we can update the context here for the user. Okay, so that's great. Now let's try one more time, and this time we should see the data console logged in the client. Let me quickly go to the client, screens, account. Okay, so on successful upload we should get the data in the console. Let's have a look at that, and then we will be saving in the context. Let me go to here and let's try. All right, and it takes a second or so, and then you can see here we have got the successful response of the user. Now this time this user has not only name, role and email, but also image. How good is that? Now this information we want to update in the context and also in the async storage.